Okay, so just got time to nip out after finishing the build. It's getting a bit dark, so I don't know how much footage I'm going to get in. And also I'm going to take it steady. So obviously brand new bike, just in case I haven't tightened anything up. I'd rather find that out, coming to a gentle halt and bending over the bars. But yeah, first ride on the Twisted Trek Top Fuel. Let's go. And the first thing I'd say is the combination, this Manitou fork and that Deluxe Ultimate rear shock with that ABP rear end just feels super fluid and alive. And also with relatively light wheel and tyre spec, and you know, this really is a very light frame for a trail bike. Maybe not for XC, but for a trail bike this is nice and light. The whole bike just feels really floating. Woo! I mean, part of that is that Victoria tyre on the back, and also it's a super race front compound Schwalbe, so you know those are pretty skippy, lively tyres. But oh yes, even though the anti-squat isn't that high, so it's not like it stands up under power, it does enough accelerate nicely. Super responsive. Just really swings nicely between the knees. That doesn't cause a horrible image. Oh yes. Oh, it really likes a gear on. Yes. Oh, this is quick. Yeah, for people who said that Top Fuel can't be an XC bike, with this rubber on, I beg to differ, and that's before take it down the lighter 120 route as well. Yeah. Bra, bra, bra. And also, when I was on the pre-launch calls with Trek's engineering and kind of development team for this Top Fuel, they really were keen to get across the fact that they deliberately made this bike a little softer, a little more compliant. Treks in recent generations have been super stiff and precise, but pretty punishing as a result of that. Whereas this bike is deliberately takes a lot of lessons from the super caliber, the super short travel, really lightweight Trek full sus bike. And that's partly how they saved 200 grams out of this frame over the previous one, but it also gives it a beautifully flowing, almost tie like ride feel. It really does feel, oh, even when I'm over geared, just skims through sections, carries speed beautifully. Proper spring-heeled flower and goer on the single track tonight. Hell yeah. And while it is definitely supple off the top, it settles into a firm mid-stroke just past the sag point. So when you're looking for traction, plenty of sensitivity, but as soon as you kind of hunker down, drop those elbows a bit and put the power down to climb, feels really efficient. And it also feels really stable and well planted on descents as well. So far, very, very impressed on this initial ride. And that geometry just feels quite quick. Still, I mean, I've been riding a lot of slack, heavier bikes recently, but so I guess it's inevitable that this will feel quite light and flighty. But because I've gone for the medium large rather than the large, so reach isn't crazy long, again, it just feels really agile and alive. Definitely feels that it's got that hunter killer vibe I was hoping for. Only thing I would say, I think I was right about that KMC chain maybe being the root of shifting problems with that TRV group, because it's not happy on the back of here either. You can hear it clunking and chattering away. And this is a cassette. Shifters and rear mech I know have worked fine together before. So, looks like I will be going SRAM chain after all. So I don't want to ride around like I am at the moment with finger on the trigger, trying to hold it in check. But again, at least that is one of the advantages of going analog rather than wireless. You have got that easy manual override backup if you need it. Whew. They made proper light work of that. That little kicker at the end of the climb often catch you out, but this really does pick up speed in an instant. And that's even with these relatively slow reacting DT Swiss hubs on here. So that's only going to get better if I do put some Bontrager wheels in there, or anything else with a faster reacting hub. Another thing, typically I'm talking about this in a dark spot now, so you won't be able to see them as well. Really getting on with the shape of these Bontrager bars. Nice positive clack, letting me know that wolf tooth droppers all the way down. I kind of looked at them and thought, oh no, they're going to be peyote on the side slip there. But Rocket Ron still hanging on up front. Let's see. Yeah, carries speed nicely through there. But yeah, I looked at them and thought, oh no, reminded me a bit of the old Ritchie Eastern monkey bar kind of. Hey, oh yes, me and this top fuel, I reckon you're going to get on fine. She's happy hopping and popping like that. Where was their bars? Yeah, looked a bit forward swept, but actually hand position feels absolutely spot on at the moment. Positives, positive, positives. Apart from that chain anyway. The only other slight glitch is I've got slightly leaky front valve, so I feel I'm losing a bit of pressure, which is not as much drama as if I've gone Vittoria both ends, because at least these Schwalbers are still nice and predictable at low pressures, but obviously need to be a bit more careful. So I don't want to wash out when I've got bread in the oven. Oh, that's not a euphemism. Mrs. K's not going to be surprised, at least I hope she hasn't, but there's literally a loaf waiting for me at home. God, the I talk on these videos sometimes. Oh, it's just proper floaty and fun through there though. Just as I got my knee into the top tube, just really feel it just like kind of, just got a real sort of balanced buoyancy just in the top end there. Properly feel it squeezing onto the ground, boosting that traction. All right, TLP, I can feel you. Sorry, KMC. But at least those shifts are really crisp. Considering that's probably a 3-year-old, maybe even older shifter and rear mech. I reckon once this chain's sorted, that's going to be a super precise way to click through those slightly closer ratio gears. Plus it's light. All right, I've just added a couple of clicks of rebound both ends, just to see how it feels. Definitely feels more planted, a little less giddy, under power, but I think that's the joy of a new bike build, isn't it? Just playing around with those settings, just finding out which part of the window works for different conditions. And it's nice now I'll have the bike on deck for a while too, because Trek have been kind enough to support these videos. I know I'm not just having to kind of panic tune it just for a quick session. It's a bike I can really sink the teeth into in terms of setup and in terms of different build iterations. But this first one feels really, really tight. To say, it does feel like it suits the bike really well. So I think a stiffer back end and frame set, because a lot of that stiffness, not only the frame tubes, it comes out of having a 2-piece rocker setup now rather than single piece. I think that might have been conspicuously too rigid for this Manitou fork, because these 34mm legs, quite a narrow crown as well. And it's a relatively light fork, you know, 1760 grams. So I think that might have been a bit too twangy on the front of a stiffer bike, but on this latest Top Fuel, feels right at home. And as I explained in the build-up, you know, I can easily get in there, take the spaces out, bring it up to 140, or even drop it to 120. But like I say, I'll probably go for a SID-based build if I wanted to go lighter. I mean, fork and shock for that. It's already got Fox SL shock, 32 SC, 34 SC, anyway. One of the lighter Fox forks on my Cervelo, so a good opportunity to compare a lightweight trail bike like this with a genuine full XC bike like the Cervelo. And I think that's going to be really interesting, to be honest. See how much this bike gives away in speed, kind of in pure acceleration climbing situations, but how much it gains in terms of control. Because right now it feels super lively, but you know, as I talked about in build video part 2, and make sure you do watch the, if you have not watched the build videos, it's worth rewinding so you get a good look at what I've actually fitted to this bike and kind of the reasoning behind the way I've done it. Why I've called it a twisted Trek, because I've deliberately set it up with quite an alternative equipment list to start with. I'm looking at the screen here, you cannot see a thing in this light, can you? Sorry. You're going to look like one of those police videos where, to maintain the innocence of the person speaking, we've blacked their face out. But anyway, where was I? Yeah, it'd be really interesting. And also, like I say, I'm going to get this bike out with the Epic Evo as well. But to be honest, already I've had a quick play on both of them, and this feels a lot livelier, a lot perkier. That Evo, that suddenly brings home how much of a sort of trail bike that feels like, in terms of the steering at least. But in contrast, the suspension feel of this Trek, even in its short stroke trail mode, because you can remember you can easily just pull a spacer out, add 5mm to the stroke, open up to 130 at the back. But even in short stroke, definitely feels like more of a sort of hard-hitting, punch-taking trail bike, and the kind of slappy, springy feel you almost inevitably get from the flex stay on the back of that Epic Evo. I just love taking speed through those rooty, janky sections super easily. No disturbance of the force at all. Like I say, I'm actually running it pretty choked down at the moment. There's a more open low speed damping setting. I might open the rebound up a bit more. All sorts of fun to be had in the coming weeks and months on this bike. But the main takeaway right now is this is a huge amount of fun and naturally very fast. So you can see exactly that kind of hunter-killer vibe I was hoping for. So there we go. Twisted Trek Top Fuel. First ride, shakedown ride, done. And if you hadn't gathered, it's been an overwhelming top positive experience. Apart from that chain, you're not going to see that again. That's coming straight off when I go home. And I've actually, it's just the last bit of footage, I actually added a bit more, sorry, taken off a kicker rebound either way. So split the difference for the original setup. And it's actually, that seems just the right level of buoyant without being too bouncy. So we'll keep working on that. Pressures seem all right. Haven't bottomed out, but then I really wouldn't expect to on those trails. They're not really the kind of trails I'd want to bottom out. You know, it needs to be hit harder than that. But like I say, the main plus on this first ride is that nothing's fallen off. Considering I've put it together, that's quite a surprise. And the fact that I haven't fallen off, even the way I'm riding these days, certainly at the moment, past couple of weeks, is quite a surprise too. So, yeah, but it does feel like, you know, it's not one of these dull nursemaid bikes by any stretch. This is like your funny uncle. Here's my initial impression. This is the one that's going to let you go crazy on sugary sweets, take you to McDonald's, let you do a supermarket sweep at Toys R Us for all the really noisy, non-educational toys that your parents wish you hadn't got, and then clear off in probably the car that your dad would really like, not some sort of family-friendly minivan. Who knew that would be the verdict of the first ride? But I think that's as good as any. So, massive thanks to you guys for watching this far. Please watch the end. I know it's boring, I know it's admin, but if you watch the end, just go, you know, make yourself a brew or something. If you just let it play out, YouTube likes that a lot more. And what I should do is make the end more exciting, like have a crash clip or something, just ready to make you watch it to the end. That's something I might have to do later. But watch the end, because that helps YouTube. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, notifications. Thanks to my industry supporters, thanks to Trek for getting behind this series of videos. And as always, huge thanks to my Patreon subscribers, because those are the guys who pledge every month and really keep this show off-road, as it were. And they get early, extended and ad-free edits of nearly all the content as a thank you. So if you're sick of edits, sick of ads in the middle of your feed, then get on Patreon, and you'll also get a general higher level of grovelling thankfulness from me, and you know, help with your bike setup, shopping tips, whatever, you know, astrology, relationship advice, cooking. No, you don't want to. I think I peaked with you can do fish fingers in the toaster. That was my peak fishing cooking advice. You're not going to get much better than that. So God, I can't believe, yeah, I ask you to watch the end of a video and they just guff on like this. Enough Kesteven, thanks for watching,
diecast GV, Trek Top Fuel, twisted custom build. Part 1 done.
Hello mate.